Welcome back into the Sports Source, this segment of our program brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. We need them here today because there's a fly on set. It's got a huge studio, but it's still just buzzing our little area of the studio. Skunks, rats, squirrels, raccoons, snakes, even foxes. Southeast Termite and Pest Control can catch and remove wildlife from your home, and they can even build protective guards to protect your property in the first place. Give a call to Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All right, let's go to the full scale. You're going to need your magnifying glass, but there they are. All 13 wins for the Volunteers that year, with the last one coming in Tempe, Arizona, in the first ever BCS National Championship game. 23-16 win over Florida State. Guys, we'll take a look at the video here. Everybody knows the drill. Fans remember Florida State had their third-string quarterback, Marcus Outson. Fans remember that David Cutcliffe had left. He'd gone to Ole Miss. Randy Sanders, his first night calling the plays.
Who coached in the first and the last BCS championship game.
There you go, Randy.
He was
Sanders.
at Florida State.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Randy Sanders, of course. And there's folklore out there that David Cutcliffe was on the phone really calling the plays. People that don't want to give Randy Sanders credit for anything.
That's negatory because I know how he was. He was so tight that night it wasn't even funny like the rest of us.
Well, there you go. We dispel that conspiracy theory. Punter David Leverton made that TD saving tackle on Peter Warwick, there's Randy Sanders, on Peter Warwick, who was their star. Dwayne Goodrich scored on an interception return. Peerless Price caught the beautiful TD bomb from T. Martin. Fans out there know every word of Keith Jackson's play-by-play by heart. What I want to know is, what don't they know? What are some stories that folks might not have heard out there? And I'll start. You guys crossed paths with Florida State before the game, right?
Yeah.
Sure. That didn't go too well. What was the deal?
Never good to have both the opposing teams have to go out through the same tunnel, and no one's really saying, no, you guys stand back until. No, they kind of all let us mingle out there for a little bit. So, when we started getting mingling, that's when the game started tingling, and so we started getting into it.
Who started the chippiness? Wouldn't be you guys, would it?
Oh, I bet it was us.
I bet you it was.
I bet it was us. I mean, we were ready, and we always had that pregame kind of mode that we got into as a group, and so I guarantee it was us we got into it.
Well, this group was chippy now. We were a chippy group of guys with each other. I promise you, we probably had more fights during practice than any team I've ever been associated with, and it was awesome because we could fight on the field, but I come in and we'd go out and sit down and have dinner at night.
So of course it started when, like, normally in pregame, the smaller guys go out, the punters, the kickers, the quarterbacks and stuff, and of course it started then. When they came back and told everybody what was going on,
right.
Number 27. When he heard about that, it was showtime. That's when it all started. I was riled up, so I'm surprised they even let us go out together at the time.
Exactly.
What else? That was John Ward's last game.
Yeah.
John Ward, of course, passed, the legendary John Ward. But
hearing him make his last call in the locker room, because that's where him and Philip did their last radio show, the post game.
Was right there in the locker room.
Right there in the locker room, and everybody could hear it, and it was pretty neat.
He signed off forever there for football season, his last call for football. John Ward, everybody here, of course, at the show, sends our condolences to the Vol Nation on losing John Ward this summer. Anything else that people remember about that game? Al Gore was on hand. The Vice President of the United States was on hand. Did that make it any different? Did you have Secret Service running around or anything? Or was that
Surprisingly, no. It didn't seem like there were a lot of security folks in the locker room, and maybe he just said, look, guys, I'm going to go enjoy this. Y'all hang out here for a while, and who knows.
It made the process of getting out of there a little longer,
right?
Because we were ready to go.
Ready to get out party?
We already knew what we were all ready to get back to the hotel, and let's go have a good time with each other, and it was a special night because really we all went back to the hotel, but after that night, we went our separate ways until we came back to campus. That was crazy because we didn't fly as a team back then. We went as ourselves.
Not to bowl games.
You're on your own.
Your responsibility to get there.
Yeah. I remember those days. You had to get there and arrive on time, and you're always worried that somebody's going to eat too much Christmas dinner.
I didn't arrive on time.
Oh, really? For this one?
There was a massive snowstorm the night before, and a lot of planes got delayed. My parents going out had to spend the night at the Detroit airport, if I remember correctly, and it just was all over the country. So
I just remember the team bus after that game. I think I had to actually go out of the bus. There was so much cigar smoke, and nobody had opened up a window in that cigar bus with the defense. So finally, we had to go kind of air it out for a little bit just to get oxygen back in there before we got back to the hotel. So we were having a good time, that's for sure, after that game. The amazing part for us in that game for me was I had been playing defensive end, and I was kind of a small defensive end. They had to put me at defensive tackle because so many guys went out, and actually walk-on Matt Gooden was at defensive tackle. He was about 255, 260. I was at 245 at the time. So you had about the world's smallest defensive tackle out there for a while playing in that game. And that was just one of the interesting moments that I don't think a lot of people knew. We were down and had a lot of guys hurt that had to fill in.
And you look, it wasn't just those 22 guys on offense, defense. As I was watching things about it last night, they were probably 5 other non-starters that were major key players for us that played in that ball game tons of snaps because of injury. I know that Jarvis Rito, he got hurt in that ball game. Josh Tucker had to come in and play right tackle, you know, and there was a bunch of guys that were just beat up and banged up as we played that ball game.
Well, I'll tell you something else, you know, clear up another story that, you know, a lot of people talk about, that if Chris Weinke would have played that game, that they probably would have had a chance. No. No.
Wouldn't matter.
Chris Weinke can't run as fast as Mount Ixon.
Yeah.
Ixon was running for his life. And if I probably would have had 4 sacks that game. Easily. Darwin would have had 10. Will would have had 10.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is every team has to overcome injuries throughout the year. That's the breaks. That's part of football.
Right.
And it's an endurance test. You know that. And they didn't make it through. You guys made it through. Put it to them. That's a heck of a year, 13-0, and people out there will remember it forever. When we come back, I'm going to get some final discussion with these guys to talk about how they view that team. Looking in hindsight, where does it rank in terms of great national championship teams? Because ESPN says only 18th out of the top 20. We'll see if these guys buy that. Does it bother them? Come on back on the Sports Source.